So I think it's complex to use the word opinion here. I don't know that it entirely fits. Great.
So two questions come to mind. Perhaps two models of a truth, right? I myself, Marxist-Leninist Maoist, and so I assert, right, the truth of Marx, the truth of Lenin, the truth of Mao. And in doing so, right, I try to express fidelity simultaneously to their text and to their history.
Right.
But it seems that there's a sort of name. So this would, if I'm correct, right, because truths are constructible, so there's no way to know a priori whether this is the correct name of truth.
Right.
Okay. But it seems that we can determine, for example, that there is no truth in those who call for a return to, say, the Constitution. And the reason why is because there's no fidelity expressed to the Constitution itself being a slave-holding document. It doesn't have universal male suffrage, doesn't have universal female suffrage. And as a matter of fact, in its historical practice, did very little to mitigate the actual oppression of Indians, blacks, women, poor men, etc. So in this case, would it be the case that they have actually betrayed the Constitution because as a text, it's not taken as faithful as a return to white landowning male as the core of this? So, I mean, what I'm saying is, it's not. Is there a way of distinguishing them? Would that be correct? That we can point out that this is not, in fact, a fidelity to the Constitution because it entails a violence to the very truth, if you will, of the Constitution itself.
I think Badiou would be fine with that. The one tiny point I would make to make sure that we're on the same page is just that for him, that critique still has to be made in the name of faith, right? So that there's still no self-evident God is going to come in and fix either side and say, haha, you win, right? As in the Internationale, right? So, no, what do we say, Savior from beyond or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So, so as long as both sides, the one side in full faith has to say, yeah, I can't prove this to you, but I am going to stand subjectively here and say, there are truths, and you're obliterating truths. And I think you can argue quite straightforwardly in such a case that those adhering to the Constitution in that sense would be denying truths. They might call it truth, but they'd say, but is this your model of truth? Is this your model of truth? So I think that the argument can be made rigorously. It's not a kind of pure fideism. Badiou has been accused of that, but I think that's a bad reading. But one does have to recognize that self-evidence is never going to. And I think that's so crucial in making sense of what he is calling for when he says the task now is to assert that there are truths, there is thought, because everyone wants justice. Everyone wants justice. But his point is to say, but they're taking justice as self-evident. What justice is, how it's going to unfold, they're taking that as self-evident. That's what has to be broaching. And that's the excess that has to be measured.
Just quick follow-up then. Then is it then fair to anyone who claims to have a truth to demand that they demonstrate some sort of truth procedure out of which they derive their truth of the event, as it were?
Yeah, I think so. In fact, I definitely think so. One thing that took me a while to grab hold of in Badiou is the position of knowledge. For him, genuine knowledge is produced in the pursuit of truth. Though you don't know the truth, you do produce genuine knowledge in the pursuit of the truth. So scientific knowledge is knowledge. It's not something we can just dismiss because scientific truths are always off. This is not Derrida, right? So genuine knowledge is produced, and you can, I think you could require, show me some genuine knowledge, show me where this is actually paid off.
I was wondering, in Commonwealth, Hart and Negri's newest book, they level some critiques against Badiou and Zizek.
Yeah, I need to read it.
I was wondering if...
Just to find out what Badiou says.
Right, I think one of the things they talk about is they dismiss Badiou, but the Badiouian event as like looking backward as opposed to where the Foucauldian event is more forward-looking.
Yeah, that's what they say.
So essentially, yeah, right. But I was wondering is, do you know if Badiou person has responded, or what do you think Badiou would say to somebody like Negri, who essentially what they assert is sort of a specific worldview of we're all embedded in the modes of capitalism, so we got to do our best, sort of thing.
Yeah, so on the one hand, I'm not, to answer the first question, I don't know if I'm responding to it. He mentions Negri once in passing in Logics of Worlds, but I'd have to dig out the reference again and see what he said exactly.
It's in the introduction where he says, it's in a letter from Antonio Negri to someone else, and Antonio Negri says, we postmoderns know the truth, that there are only bodies and language.
And bodies and language, okay, so it's on that point. So if he has responded, it's in French, and I have to find it. But as for the second question, yeah, I think Badiou would just say, this looking to the future, and unfortunately I think Agamben is read this way as well, as being very like Negri in the same regard, but I don't read it that way. I think Zizek misreads Agamben at this point. But yeah, this idea of looking to some events still to come, Foucauldian, Derridian, and so on, it renders the present absolutely powerless. And I think that's exactly the problem with Negri and Hart's model, is that we're waiting on that.
Waiting for the return of the gods.
Yeah, we're waiting for the return of the gods. It ends up being Heidegger. And whereas Badiou, you can say it's looking backward if you want, but it's inventive, it's at work, and it's doing something productive. So I think Negri's, if that's really Negri's and Hart's critique, I think it's pretty bad. But yeah.
So I was reading about truth, and he says that truth has to be for all. Okay.
Yeah.
You can't say that it's just for some.
Absolutely universal.
Yeah, and what I'm getting and what I'm wondering about is if truth is for all, but yet not everybody sees the truth, right, or accepts it. It seems like that's the biggest problem with promoting the truth. Like in the communist revolutions and things like that, eventually it became terror at some point, where they were forcing people. If they weren't willing to live by the truth, they say, well, you have to.
Yeah.
How do you stop that? How do you actually just have the truth go out there and be universal, but yet still create a society?